Hi, I'm Maggie.
Hi, I'm Grace, and this is
A Very Bookish Podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back to A Very Bookish Podcast. Today is episode 88, and yet again, I am alone, but I'm not alone. I have my guest, my co-host, an author that many of you actually probably know, and some of you probably don't know. I have Tijan, and we're going to be talking about her newest release, her past releases, and getting to know her today. And I hope that y'all are just as excited as I am. Sorry that was a word vomit, but welcome, Tijan.
Hi. I was giving you thumbs up when you were doing the countdown.
Yes, for our list. Yeah. Yeah, for our listeners, this is an audio-only episode. For funsies, we're going to make it audio only, so you never have to worry about watching us. You can only listen to us. But Tijan, would you like to kind of tell everybody who you are, what you do, honestly, everything about you? We want to know everything. Spill.
Hi, I'm Tijan, and I'm an author, and I write. The latest ones that I wrote are some mafia books. And then my release last month was a hockey book, a new adult hockey book. And so I write a lot of young adult, new adult, some contemporary, paranormal, mafia. I'm forgetting like so many right now that I can't think of. Right. But I've written
everything
a lot
under the sun.
Yes, except like historical.
Mm-hmm.
I have some motorcycle club books coming, so like I'm getting into that one too. Yeah.
Motorcycle! You have motorcycle clubs coming? That's that's my cup of tea.
I have a short story out. She graduates high school, and it's a short story. And then I've been in some of my other books. An MC called The Red Demons have like just been like building. Like they just keep showing up in these other books. So I was like, okay, I need to write actually at least one book for this series or this MC. And so that book is done. It's going to be released next year. And then I also have another short story also written for another member of that club, but it was supposed to be a short story, and it's for an anthology that's coming out. And I kept emailing them saying like, it's not a short story. I'm trying to like cut it off. I'm trying. And so I have that one coming out too. And that will be, I'll have enough time where that's just going to be like another full length book too. Cause everybody who read it, they were like, oh my God, I need more, it's a very good thing. Cause you don't always get that response back from like proofreaders or beta readers. So when you do, you take note.
Is the novella that you're possibly talking about is Bad Boy Brody?
No, Bad Boy Brody is that's a novel that's been out for a while, and he's like he's an actor he was like the golden kid, and then I don't really that's in like an older book. I think he got into like a fight or something, and then he turned into like Bad Boy Brody, and he went to Montana to do like
I just saw motorcycle.
So. Yeah. So yeah, he's on a motorcycle on there, and then there's it deals with horses too, like Mustangs, and they're doing a movie in Montana, and so yeah.
Well, so for our listeners who aren't aware, she does have a new book coming out. It's A Cruel Arrangement. And when I tell you the tropes for this book, you have close proximity, you have kidnapped, you have mafia, you have bodyguard. And I'm like, how do you have all of these tropes into one book? And I'm like, how do you like physically are like, okay, I'm going to write all of these tropes into this book? Or are you like writing the book and you're like, oh, this belongs in this trope. Oh, and then it's also this trope. And it's also this trope. How do you like do that?
I write the book, and then they give me a form of pick all the tropes that it can pertain to. And I was like, yeah, there's this one and this one. So that's how you do it. And that's how I do it.
Yeah, because it's a contemporary adult romance that's a dark romance. And for my dark romance girlies, you can't see it, but I'm actually wearing my dark romance readers club from our Smutsville University collection, which you can get at averybookishop.com. Subtle plug for me. But I was like, it's a grumpy ex-sunshine, it's a redemption, a tortured lead, a tragic past. And I was like, you're
That's
just
all
trying to get book talk. You're just trying to get book talk with this book. Cause I'm like, dang. And it's the Kings of New York series too. And I'm like, oh, I need to like dip my toes in the water and like, I need to get this book. I'm going to ask Valentine PR. I'm going to be like, y'all send me this book. I want to read this book.
Yeah.
And get this book to me now. They'll probably send me a e-arc, but that's fine with me. I need to read this book because it sounds so exciting. So do you kind of want to let our listeners, I was about to say readers, let our listeners and your readers kind of like give a synopsis of it? Would you mind?
Yeah. So this is book 2 in the Kings of New York series, and it's the first book centers around Jess and Trace. So I'll just talk about that one a little bit. So Jess in A Dirty Business, Jess is a parole officer and very much loves her job. It gives her like structure and it makes her feel in control of her life and stuff. And then Trace is Wall Street guy, but his family is in the mafia. And so he's getting pulled to be more into the mafia side of stuff. Then they meet and it's kind of like intense chemistry. And it's like a push-pull between them, like the whole book. And then Trace also, his best friend is Ashton. And so like Trace is more good guy-ish. I mean, he's in the mafia, but in Wall Street, but he's still good guy-ish. Ashton is not the good guy. He is like the antithesis of that. So we have his book, and then something happens at the end of Dirty Business, and it continues into Ashton and Molly's book. And then the readers, they meet Molly, and the premise of the book 2 is that Molly, she runs a bowling lane that she kind of like maneuvered or she conned from her dad, who's like this big con guy, but he's in so much debt to Ashton's family that he basically works for them. And so the beginning of this book is she is being a robber has come in to try and hold up her bowling lane, and she goes crazy and she is like, you're not going to do this to me. And she ends up is like, do you know who my dad is, who is connected to Ashton? And then the guy panics, and then Ashton gets involved, and then there's like all this other stuff that goes on, and eventually Ashton kind of kidnaps Molly, but he's also like protecting Molly, and he's like, and then they know each other from childhood, and he is like kind of hates her, but he's kind of drawn towards her, and he's annoyed by it, and she's like, well, I don't really know. She's a little crazy, but like fun crazy.
Honestly, I love those types of characters because I'm also a tad bit crazy.
Yeah.
And so I love when the main,
I do too. I love writing.
The main female lead is like crazy and is like a bad bitch. And it's like the girl boss gatekeep gaslight energy. That's like my favorite type of energy when you're just like, this is so amazing. This is so great. And then the male lead just kidnaps her and you're like, what? But I love kidnap. I mean, yeah. I don't love kidnapping. I love the kidnapping trope.
No, I know. Well, he is kind of kidnapped her, and there was one point she's like, I don't even know if I am kidnapped or if I'm not. And he's like, I'm protecting you. He's like yelling at her. But like, I have to tell you that she was so crazy in like the first, I had to like do rewrites, like 2 full rewrites. And I kept being told, scale her back. So I was like, really? I was like, okay. So this is a scale down cover.
Oh, that kind of makes me excited because when I read, I'm going to be like, how much crazier can she get? That's what I'm hoping. Yeah. But that kind of leads me into a question is, how do you like create these characters? Are these like characters, when you think of writing a story, you're like, this is how the character is going to be? Or does it just kind of come about while you're writing? You're like, oh, she's going to do this crazy thing. and you're like, oh, I like this. I'm going to keep making her do this kind of things. Like, what is kind of your process for doing that?
I don't really like, usually the ones where I'm like, I'm fully wanting to like write this type of character. It never happens. It's like, then I feel like, and then people are like, you're forcing it, so I've always kind of like, I think I tried that with one book and it was not that great. So I always just do organic characters. And I think it just comes to like what kind of character that I need to like. Jess was so like kind of like structured and like serious, very like badass, but in like a kind of like a cop way. And I've never written that before. And then Molly is like almost the complete opposite. She like has a switch that like if she switches it, she'll go crazy. And so, and I have so much. I have like, I think in the Not Outcast, I wrote a character who has I never said it, but in the book, it's she's got like ADHD, and then I got another one like Brian's bed. She's neurodivergent stuff going on. So it's always like, it always kind of just comes up kind of like a mix of like, I think what I need to write as the writer, and then also organically too. There was the one of my Frisco, my MC book coming out. I did not intend to write her how I did, and it was like she dropped the bomb when I was writing. I'm very much into like letting the characters write, and then I'm just kind of like the tool to do it. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna be writing her like this, So, and I didn't fight it. I was like, if it's organic, that's what it's supposed to be. So I kind of go that route.
I really like that. I especially like that. I feel like neurodivergence and ADHD in women is not as seen as much as men. So I love when a girlie has like ADHD or is neurospicy is what I call it. I've got that from some influencers. They call it neurospicy. And I'm like, that's how I describe myself, is I'm neurospicy, because I am not neurotypical. I'm like, the way my brain works, I cannot. So I bet I can relate to her, and I'll be like, this is exactly how I want to react in some situations, but I know I cannot. And I think that's also some things that I love about reading, is that like you always fantasize about like what I would say in this conversation, and then you never say it, and then you read about it in a book and you're like, that's what I would have done. And then you sit back and you're like, I would have never done that. I don't have the capability to do that. So
no, that's the fun of writing it too, is that you can write what like, like I'm always, sometimes like I go from project to project and I'm like, man, I'm so exhausted. And then I'm like, why haven't I actually done anything? I'm still here. But it's like I've been living this, like all these different lives. So it's like, so that's the fun of writing it too.
I mean, you have a huge catalog of books. I'm looking at all your books right now. I'm like, holy cow. So would you mind telling me like how you got into writing, and like kind of your history of publishing and self-publishing or with big publishers, and kind of your journey to becoming who you are today as an author?
I started writing after college. I kind of always had like people in my head, storylines, and like just storylines and worlds and stuff, growing up and everything. And then I was at my parents' lake cabin, and I literally felt like my skin was crawling, like was going to come off of me. I felt like I was going nuts. And I booted up my dad's old computer at the lake cabin, and it's so old that it's like, it was the type where it was like yellow because it had aged so much. So I had no idea if it was going to work or not. And it did. And then I just started writing, and it was like this release of like everything just clicked. And I was like, it was like one of my best, I've had another vacation that was like one of my best vacations ever. So then I just like wrote, and I was just getting all these like people and storylines out of my head. And so I knew that was like what I was going to do, whether I made money by it or not. But I was like, this is what I have to do. And then after that, it was because I didn't pay attention how to write fiction in college or high school or anything. So after that, I was learning how to write like books and stuff. And then I started posting them for free on fictionpress.com. And back then, like the idea was like you post it and then you get like constructive feedback, which didn't really happen, but I think it happened how it's supposed to happen, because it was mostly like you post and then you get like, I love this. You get like all this like very supportive feedback, which I think is like what you kind of need in the beginning. And then from there, it was kind of the journey of like just writing, posting, and then kind of like your confidence is building, and then you just start like, I don't know. I think there's some writers where like you can't stop getting ideas, and there's some who struggle. I'm one of the ones who can't stop. So then I just kept getting more ideas and kept writing and writing and writing. And then I did self-publish a couple books, and I published them under a different pen name. It's like more, in my opinion, a more professional name, like T.K. Meyer or T. Meyer. But my readers were not buying it. I kept telling them like, this is me. It's just a different pen name. So then they wouldn't do it. So then I was like, well, screw it. So then I self-published some of the books under Tijan, and then they started buying it. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna have to use my pen name here. And then, I mean, it was cool if I sold like a few, and then I wrote Fallen Crest High, and I published Fallen Crest High on Wattpad. And the response was like, to me, it was crazy. I had so many people, like some people were telling me like, well, if you don't write a sequel, I'm going to write the sequel. So then they're going to like take the characters away from me. So then I ended up self-publishing on Amazon to like have something like official. And then that book launched my career, because that book, it just launched my career. So, and I wasn't like paying attention because I didn't know what to look for. I didn't know to watch for the top 100 Kindle store. I was watching for like the top 100 young adult Kindle store. And I was like, number 5, and like, I loved it. So, but yeah. And then it was Fallen Crest High, and then Broken and Screwed, and Fallen Crest Family. I just kind of kept going, and I just kept like writing. And then I wrote my first Mafia was Carter Reed, like later that year, I believe. And so, yeah, and it's just kind of like morphed from there. I didn't start doing traditional publishing until recently. I did the Insiders Trilogy with St. Martin's Press, and then A Dirty Business and A Cool Arrangement are with Montlake. So it's a very new venture into being a hybrid, which is indie publishing and also traditional publishing.
Yeah. I mean, when our listeners can, I'm going to tag it in the description down below, but I literally am on a page called fantasticfiction.com, and I literally like see all of her books, and I'm like, holy cow, this woman has had a career. I'm like, how many books are you publishing within a year?
I don't know, because it's the last few years have been kind of like different. So because of the different, like with publishing, and then I had COVID a lot, so I was like, I had health problems. But I don't know, I think my normal is like 4 a year, 4 to 5. But then I think the last 2 years, like I think some of those are like short stories and novellas. So I've been kind of like slimming it down a little bit. But I know like my normal was like 4 or 5.
I mean, that's impressive. To write more than one book a year is impressive. To even write a book in a year is beyond impressive to me. But kind of like how is that process of writing a book for you? Is it like, can you write a book in like 4 months, 3 months? Like, what is that whole process?
Yeah. It depends on the book itself, because like some books I write in, or I'm not saying anymore, but I wrote like Hate to Love You, to College Football, Enemies to Lovers one, and I wrote that one in like 3 weeks, because that one like just poured out of me. But some other ones like Teardrop Shot, that's a NBA college or an NBA basketball one, and then Ryan's Bed, which was like high school basketball one. Those I started in 1 year, and then I got to like a certain section, and then I had to stop, and I didn't come back. I finished them. So it all depends. I have like some books that like it's taken me like a couple of years. I'm still like, I work on it every now and then, and I go back, and and it also depends on like deadlines. yeah. How much is my agent going to be really mad at me? Like, stuff like that.
I mean, yeah, that's like crazy. Like, one book that recently came out, The Hockey with Benefits, was what, in March early this year, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think I published it early March. Yes, I did. Yeah, I did.
And I'm like, and then you have a release this April, and I'm like, holy cow, that's like back to back.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Well,
girly pop, are you resting?
Well, a cruel arrangement, because the traditional ones, they need them so far in advance. So like a cruel arrangement has been done for like a while.
Mhm.
Hockey with Benefits, I was still working on it. Like, you have a little bit more leeway. I mean, not if you're going to do a same day audiobook release, because then they need to have it done like 90 days in advance, which I did not do. So they're doing the audiobook soon. But yeah, so like it always, yeah. But yeah, so a cruel arrangement was done ahead of time.
Yeah. But still, to have like a release, like 2 releases within like 2 months, it's like, oh, girl, like you must be exhausted at the moment.
I think most of the stuff is like the promoting is like, that's the stuff for me. The marketing and like the social media and like the promoting stuff is like, that's the stuff that is exhausting to me. The writing itself and like the editing is not like that. The writing like fills you up. You get like, I can like write chapters and then leave my computer feeling like I'm high. Cause like I can get that from my job, you know, not editing, but like the writing, but like, yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's the dream job to have if you're being able to write and you're just like, this is the best thing in the world. And then, like, I guess it's kind of like a runner's high. You get a writer's high. Like, I'm so jealous of you to be able to do that. I'm like,
that in a while, but yeah, I used to get that more. I think I got that. I'm working on a new manuscript right now, Pine River, and I get that sometimes with that one. I was like, oh, I forgot what this is like.
I mean, have you ever experienced burnout before? And
oh yes,
like,
yes, that's also been over the last few years. That's kind of been like a nonstop thing of like making sure to like rest when you need to rest, and like yeah. So yes, I deal with that too.
Yeah, I feel like especially since quarantine, I feel like a lot of authors have gotten way more popular, and then you kind of start feeling the effects of burnout. And I'm like, whew, we talk about it in the accounting profession, but at least we have like, I don't know. Do you ever like take vacations or anything where you just like, I need to relax, or you just like step away from writing for like a couple days? Is there like a process that you do to recover from a burnout, or are you just kind of like, I stick through it?
No, I will take some days. The last few, it always changes with every book, but I've noticed my routine lately has been like, I'll work like for a few days in a row, and then if I'm really struggling, I'll take like 2 days off, and then try not to like. And I really try. I mean, I do my own social media, so like you're always kind of like doing some type of work like all the time, but I really do try to like turn it off and like not go on my phone that much, or watch movies. Or now it's like, because I'm up in North Dakota, so like now we're finally getting some decent weather, so now like I can, you know, take the dog for a walk and stuff. Like that's like a really big thing. I do like to travel, but like traveling, it's kind of like a hit and miss thing, because like I still work when I travel. So I used to like it where it was like the day of traveling, I was like not in Author Tijan mode at all. I was like, no one knows me. I can just like, you know, and not like that's like an issue anyways. But in my head, I was like, I'm not going to be dealing with like questions on, you know, email or on Instagram or something. I was like, I can just sign off and just like focus on getting from, you know, where I'm at to where I'm at. But like now it's all kind of like intermingled of like doing like doing all of it kind of at the same time. But no, but I do like to travel with like friends and stuff, because then I'll be like, let's go out for dinner, and then, you know, I don't think about like deadlines and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. You relax and you just let yourself live. I think that's kind of basically what you're describing, is you get out of that author mode, which I'm going to get you into author mode right now. I'm going to get you in here, and I'm going to ask, this is probably the hardest question you're ever going to have to answer today. But if you only could write one like genre, like either like adult romance, or not adult romance, like contemporary or romantic suspense, or like dark romance, or like sports romance, which one would you think you'd be able to write for the rest of your life?
Okay. My answer is kind of a cheat answer.
Oh no. Oh no.
I would say paranormal romance, because you could do paranormal in all of those areas.
I mean, that is such
paranormal new adult.
That is such a cheat answer, but
I know it's a total cheat answer.
It's a little loophole between my question. I thought my question would definitely stump you more than that. I guess if you had to stick to one type of trope, like you couldn't add any other tropes, one trope, what is one that you think you could write forever?
Oh gosh, it would. I mean, this isn't my answer, but I'm just gonna say I do like the friends to lovers ones, but it would have to be enemies to lovers.
Yeah, because I mean the tension.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm still like trying to work on it. I'm still like trying to get better at that. So like, so but that one.
I make the joke that I love to read about enemies to lovers, but I would have to have a friends to lovers relationship in real life, because if I tried to date my enemy, I would like kill them before like I ever would be able to love them in real life. Yeah. But when I tell you, like, enemies to lovers is like, especially in mafia romance enemies to lovers, or like a dark romance enemies to lovers, I'm like, I gobble it up and I'm like, yum, 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 this is so delicious, because I'm a dark romance girly. Like that's my bad bitch. That's my side bitch, is my dark romance. But sorry, I am very extra. And I'm sorry to our listeners. I'm so sorry. Awesome. But I was gonna ask you more about authors, but I want to know, as a reader, are there like any genres of books that is your favorite to read romance, or are you more of like, oh, I like fiction or nonfiction, or are you really into romance?
I am mostly into romance. When I was younger, I was into Native American literature and like fiction, and like it didn't matter, like, and if my library had it, I would read it. So I would like just inhale that category. And then my sister bought me a high school romance book. I think it's like in fifth grade, and after that it was like romance. Everything romance. I think I have like listened to some. I do listen to audiobooks that are not romance, but generally that's not, that's also like not typical for me. It's all romance for me.
I mean, yeah, me too. I used to be like a YA girl, and I could read some nonfiction, and now I'm a strict romance girl now.
Yeah.
But do you have any authors that you recommend for romance, or like your top authors that if they had a book published, you would read it no matter what?
I like to read, and I do make this or clarify that like I read in what I'm not writing. So like right now I'm reading JD Robb, the In Death series. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm like into like book 54 or something. But like I like Kristen Ashley, and I love Jennifer Armentrout, which she's fully aware of. And then I think a couple other ones are like Helena Hunting and Deborah Anastasia. I enjoy reading them too.
Yeah, those are some classics there. Yeah. I got into the Black Dagger Brotherhood series by J.R. Ward, and I'm in like book like 11 or 12, something like that.
Yeah.
And when I tell you those long series can get you like down a rabbit hole, and I'm like, oh no, I need to breathe sometimes with those. But that's if you had to read one like subgenre of romance for the rest of your life, which not being paranormal, not being paranormal romance, what romance genre would you read for the rest of your life?
I would read, oh gosh, I don't know, probably like, I don't know, I probably like what I'm reading right now with JD Robb with the crime romance stuff. I mean, there's romance, but it's like mostly crime stuff. I think that.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Are you a big fan?
Because I would get sick of like, I would get sick of the college and like, because I get sick of like writing young adults, and then I switch it up and I have to write college, and then I get sick of college, then I write like, NBA sports thing, or like writing the MC stuff lately has been really refreshing because I'm like, oh, this is totally different for me, but I'm like loving it. So
yeah. Oh my gosh, okay, so crime. Are you like into like NCIS and those kinds of shows? Criminal Minds, do you like those kinds of shows?
Oh my gosh, yes and no. I'm trying to I don't watch like the typical ones. And I'm trying to think of like the not typical, like The Killing.
Okay, yes, I know that one.
I'm obsessed with that show. And then because it's so like gritty. I don't know. I watched The Following, The Prodigal Son.
Haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, that's like about like serial killer stuff. But I think that like goes into the crime stuff too.
I mean, yeah. Have you watched Hannibal on Hulu?
I watched like a couple episodes.
That's like nitty gritty, like whew, the second season I'm like, oof. I'm like, oh,
that has a similar that has a similar vibe to it as The Following did too. Which is like a cult serial killer thing, if I'm getting the name right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like a true crime, like I love true crime, and some of our listeners know I plan on going to law school eventually, and I watch a lot of like court cases and live court sessions. So I love talking about like crime, which sounds so bad, but it's like as a girl, as a woman, you always kind of have to like be aware of these things, and you're always like watching your back, like walking down the street with my like key that's gonna do nothing if somebody attacks me, or I walk down with my Hydro Flask out so that if anybody comes up to me, I'm just gonna go bah and just hit them, because this thing full is like a good way to hit people with.
I always kind of laugh because it's like when I take Bailey, my dog, on walks, like it seems weird to go on a walk without him now because you have the dog. But then I always kind of laugh in my head because I'm like, you got to pick up their stuff. So then you have a bag of their stuff in my other hand. I was like, if anyone tries to mess with us, I was like, they're gonna get this bag first.
I think that's gonna. Yeah, that reminds me of like, I think it was like on TikTok, these like porch pirates who were stealing stuff, and so this guy filled up a box with all of his dog's poop and like left it out, and they took it and then they returned it, and I was like, yeah, you're gonna get the shit end of the stick.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, so kind of for my last question, I want to ask you, this might be a hard question, but I hope it's not. It's going to be, if you had one piece of advice to give to a new author, or an author who's just starting out, or maybe an author who is still continuing in their career, what piece of advice would you give them?
Oh, geez. Because it changed. I think that would change, like for I think the general advice I would give, which I give to myself, is like write what you love, like fall back in love with writing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's like kind of like a cliche thing to do, but I think that's also like kind of the best that would fit for all of them. New writers, I would be like, just focus on writing the book. Like, don't think about anything else after that. Just get the book done first.
Okay.
And then and then all the rest, it would be like, just make sure you're, and if you need to fall, if you're like burnout and stuff, just fall back in love with reading and with writing, and
Well, perfect. Thank you. And thank you to all of our listeners. I'm like looking at the camera right now, but then I realized like y'all aren't even going to see me. And so I'm just staring at you in the eyes while you get to watch this.
I'm here. I'm staring right back.
So thank you everybody for listening. I'm going to have all of Tijan's information down in the description, so you can go check out A Cruel Arrangement, which is releasing April 25th. So you can either get a Kindle. It will be on Kindle Unlimited, I think. Yes. Correct?
Yep.
It is on Kindle Unlimited. And you can get the paperback. I'll have that all linked down below. I'll have all of her links down below. And so thank you so much for coming on. And thank you to our listeners. And I will see you guys in 2 weeks.